Dependent on these causes and conditions, it opens up a big door of possibility to stop or cease the suffering. So we see a kind of big possibility. So then we try to look at how it is possible. What characteristics that state would be having where suffering is completely ceased. There in the picture comes out the fourth noble truth, the cessation, the third noble truth, the cessation of suffering, the state where suffering has completely ceased. So we kind of imagine that state and try to look into that kind of characteristic. What kind of characteristic should that state have? And then in the picture comes in ceasing or the cessation. That state should be completely free from any suffering. Suffering must be ceased in that state. So that is first characteristic that the third truth, the truth of cessation, should have. And the second characteristic the truth of cessation should have is the pacification. In a state where all the sufferings are completely pacified, there is no possibility of any single suffering. Even if we have attained a stage, there are less numbers of suffering, but still the suffering exists. That is still not a kind of completely pacified state. So the cessation, a state where the suffering is ceased, must be free from any kind of those kind of conditions, or be pacified from any kind of those conditions. There should not be any kind of different kind of disturbances of that causes that may cause the suffering. And then the superior state. Now at presently, we may be happy from some time. We may be free from certain variety of suffering. Today, most of us are free from some very kind of serious sickness, cancer or tuberculosis or those kind of things. But it doesn't mean that we have achieved the kind of cessation of suffering. So what does it mean? If someone has really achieved the cessation of suffering, that state must be a superior state where there is no possibility of existence of any variety of suffering. Even if we are free from the tuberculosis or the cancer, but we still have certain suffering, certain minor suffering, certain other varieties of suffering. So as long as we are existing in that state, it is not a state that can be kind of branded or acceptable as a cessation of suffering. And then definite emergence. So a cessation of suffering, the state where someone achieved cessation of suffering must have this characteristic of definite emergence. That means they definitely have to be free from suffering. even if there is minor variety of suffering still existing, that state is not acceptable as a state where the suffering is completely ceased. So these are the four characteristics that is indispensable in that state of being free from the suffering. Unless someone attains that kind of state characterized by these four characteristics, they are still not there, haven't attained that state of cessation of suffering. So, from that point of view, we will come to understand, like, it could be possible that from time to time people may claim that I have attained nirvana, but in reality we have to look into that. Does his attainment meet with these conditions? If the person meets with those conditions, surely they have attained the nirvana. If the person claims that he has attained the nirvana, but another day he is crying, and then in the kind of unbearable pain, how can we accept that? So we need to be very clear about what is nirvana. So this is the fourth, the four characteristics of the third truth. So this is a quite kind of a good approach to explain, to make people understand what is nirvana. So then that comes to the next level. The fourth noble truth is the truth of the path, or in the other kind of translation they say true pathway minds. That's quite kind of a strange translation. Somehow people use that kind of. Now here, this the fourth noble truth also comes with the four characteristics. The first characteristic is pathway, and in the other translation they use the characteristics or the aspect as pathway minds. And the second characteristic is awareness. In the next translation they use appropriate means. So this is quite different. The meaning is quite different from each other. And the third characteristic here is achievement. In the next translation, they use means of actualization, quite different from each other. And the fourth characteristic is deliverance. And another version of translation, they use the means for definite removals. So here, once again, we see quite a big of difference between the usage of different terms in the words. It's quite important to notice these things, unless you may get confused from time to time. So here, now, when we see that suffering, our own very existence, the kind of five aggregates itself is in true nature is nature of suffering, and it is produced by those disturbing and afflictive emotions. And if we really are serious to be free from the suffering, we need to attain a state with specific characteristics. Now, is it possible to attain that? There arises a big question mark. Now then comes into the picture the true path, or the Four Noble Truths, the path. So the path, when we came to the explanation of this word path, then it says that how can we get rid of the source of and origin of the suffering? So we are very sure that if we get rid of the source of the suffering, we will be free from the suffering. So how can we do that? Then comes into the picture the path, the virtuous qualities, positive qualities, which can get rid of those negative and afflictive emotions. And it's a law of nature. It's a law of nature that we cannot change. Heat goes against the cold. Hard goes against the soft. So this is a law of nature. Darkness goes against the brightness. No one can change this. So in the similar way, the positive qualities of mind goes against the negative characteristics of the mind. And no one can change that. It is natural to us, natural to human beings. So if we cultivate the positive emotions and positive qualities of the mind, then that will help us to reduce these negative and afflictive emotions. If we practice love, kindness, and compassion, then that will reduce the possibility of hatred and anger. That is an antidote, direct antidote against it. Now if we practice contentment and less desire, then that will reduce attachment, specifically desirous attachment. Now, if we practice the wisdom, then that will reduce the possibility of ignorance and wrong view. So it works in that way. If we practice sense of humility, humbleness, that will reduce the kind of exaggerative sense of self-importance or the kind of sense of pride or prejudice. So this goes against each other. This is natural. No one can change it. So it is up to us. It is our choice. If we are serious about leading a good, happy, satisfactory life, then we have to choose the right thing. Now, choosing these right things is a pathway, is a path to achieve kind of eradication of those afflictive emotions. And that is also an appropriate means to get rid of those afflictive emotions which keeps bothering us. That is also the source of achievement. If we keep practicing in that way, gradually we will come to achieve the cessation of suffering. Step by step, we can cease more and more suffering. And then finally, it's the means of definite removal of all the suffering. So, in that way, we can gradually, if we practice in that way, move forward and then achieve the cessation of suffering, attainment of nirvana. So, this is a very brief introduction of Four Noble Truths. If you have any question, you're most welcome. We have a few minutes for questions. If you have no question, that means you understand everything and you are very, very intelligent and very wise. Okay? If you have a question, no problem. You're most welcome to come up with. If no question, then as I told you, you're very wise and very intelligent, then we should move forward with the chanting. So what is your preference? Have questions? You raise your hand.
Rinpoche, I have family friends, family people. These 2 days certainly is a coma, but the doctor says he's brain dead. He's a doctor. Then it's just certain, last about 10 days ago. So what will we do with this kind of condition? Do we have to pray for him to enlightenment, or either we pray for him to be released, relaxed, and then how do we achieve to ask him to come back if he's brain dead? We completely don't know anything. But the doctor was asking to have an operation. Then we asked about the price. He said about 180,000 to operation. After that one, they need about 1,000 something to him, to taking care of him, like exercising and all that. But no answer to say how well he can be covering, It's uncertain, even 50% uncertain. So in this kind of situation, he's still lying in the hospital. What shall we do for him? Do we ask for enlightenment or what?
This is quite a critical question. It's very difficult to say we should do this thing to kind of take that kind of a decision or that kind of decision. But I think at least if we pray for his well-being, it is much better than not doing anything. So it's good that we all pray together for his well-being. I believe that we definitely have created some good karmas and good merit by coming here together in this prayer hall. Especially you came here to listen to me, and you are not here to join a kind of karaoke party. So surely you came with a very good motivation, and your presence here definitely have created good merit and good karma, and it is very important that we should dedicate it for the benefit of that person, and we hope that will help him. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So that means you don't have a question. Very good. Okay, please.
Can you explain more on emptiness?
I think due to the time, I cannot do it today. I hope to do it in future, okay? Yeah?
Yeah, I the question of the fourth aspect of the third truth. I think it's due to my bad karma that I won't understand. But it's saying the fourth aspect of the third truth. It seems to me almost the same like the fourth aspect of the fourth truth.
That's the two different.
Yeah.
One is definite emergence, and another one is it's a means to definite removal. So that's a two different things. So if someone has achieved the state of having ceased the suffering, then that means that person must have to be kind of definitely emerged out of the suffering.
That is the third.
Yeah, that is the third one. The fourth one is the path must have this quality to remove the suffering. So it must have the kind of capability to removal of the suffering. So that's the two different things. Okay? Yes, please.
To what extent does Tibetan Buddhism endorse the Noble Eightfold Path as the fourth truth?
Sure, that is also a part of it. But then that is more focused portion of the fourth noble truth. In case if someone's kind of aim is to achieve the nirvana or liberation, so that's a different way of looking at it. Of course, Eightfold Noble Path is a good path, is necessary, it can be practiced. Even Eightfold Noble Path can be practiced by the Bodhisattvas and the Mahayanas practices. But it is not the only thing the Mahayanas should practice. Mahayanas should have more things added upon it, but it is also a basic foundation to practice. They should do it.
So it's part of Tibetan Buddhism.
Sure, it's a very common practice that is shared by all the different traditions.
Pertaining to his question, just now you said about the path, right? And then you said something about the removal, right?
Yeah.
Removal, you haven't said that. So for busy people like us, right? The removal, the actual removal part, how should we do that?
Removal. When you practice those antidotes, that will gradually remove it.
Okay, the antidote.
When you eat something, it will automatically fill up your tummy. So you cannot eat separately and fill up your tummy separately, you know. So eating itself fill up your tummy. In the same way,
In the morning?
practicing the path itself will remove those kind of causes and the kind of
When you
resources.
wake up in the morning, say you go to work and you come back, what do you suggest for us?
So you have to learn those values. As soon as you wake up in the morning, try to recall those values and try to make a commitment from the morning that I should live with these values the whole day. And then if you keep doing like that day by day, it will definitely improve your life. Okay, yeah?
So can I conclude that your third truth and your fourth truth are actually the Dharma jewel?
Surely, yeah. Third truth and the fourth truth is Dharma jewel. Okay? So, thank you very much for listening so attentively. I do appreciate your attention. And now we are going to do a short kind of dedication, and then we will do the kind of these and scientific grounding. Okay? Dhamma sanje damje dedam dindruji yinyenro damje dado dhamma jiru tenpa khana kuju deda kwinge mono nujuru dende june tenpa darshinge dezi kibu damje vijay kwena diki jume ne sangye tenpa dado ye gyuru kewa kundu yanda lama vijay ge bela sadana ge yunde doje changi gomo nyuru shu Thank you. Yeah.